Hey everyone, Tim Gilliam with Teak Master here, and we're in beautiful sunny South Pasadena, California, and we're about to get started on refinishing the doors you see behind me. They appear to be Douglas fir, pretty close to vertical grain, and unfortunately they've been incorrectly coated by some sort of blow and go finishing pro. Now we're going to go ahead and show you the correct way to refinish it and protect it so it stays beautiful and it's maintainable in the future. So we had previously done some work for this client on some other doors and their Mangaris deck, and this year they brought us in to go ahead and tackle this problem. Now they purchased the home about 2 years ago, and it was totally renovated, totally remodeled, and all of these doors were added. And the doors are great, they're great quality, they're absolutely beautiful, except for the coating. Now, when I said blow and go finishing pro, that's what I mean. They slapped some sort of stain on here, maybe one coat of varnish, so they can sell the house, and then now it's blistering and peeling and flaking off, and I can just take a lot of it off by just rubbing it. Just an absolutely atrocious and disgusting blow and go finishing pro job. So we're going to go ahead and show you the technique on how to restore these doors back to their original and intended look. So we found this little area off to the side where we can perform our work, and even though we're working on gravel, we go ahead and cover the gravel, and we first put down a blue tarp and then a heavy canvas tarp on top of that. We want to just make sure that we protect everything while we're working. Okay, so before we get started, we always inspect everything that we work on. Now, we've noticed that the windows are scratched, and as you can see right here, there is some stain and some sort of the previous coating. So it's actually all over the windows, and there's scratches everywhere, and we just want to make the homeowner aware that these exist and that it wasn't done by our company. So we're going to go ahead and remove the doors because it's always good to sand these doors horizontally. And as you can see, it takes 5 or 6 guys to take off one door. I'm just kidding. But after we take off the door, we'll go ahead and cover the doorway with plastic because we don't want anything flying in or any critters to get inside while we're working. Okay, so it's always best to sand and refinish these doors horizontally rather than vertically, and the reason is because it's always good to sand so you can put some pressure a little bit and sand downward as opposed to vertically, which is really hard. So we take the doors off, we put them on sawhorses very carefully. The guys take off as much hardware as we are allowed to, and what I mean by that is sometimes we work on doors that are 20, 30, 40, 50, 80, 100 years old, and so are the hardware. So, attempting to take off something that is potentially 60 years old, who knows what has happened to it, who knows if any parts are missing or rigged somehow to operate. So we have to be very, very careful on what we can actually remove. So 100% of the time, is not achievable in terms of taking off door handles, but many times it is. And when we can, of course, we want to go ahead and do that. Take off the hardware, take off, any of the stuff that we possibly can, and then we tape off everything to make sure that we're not scratching any glass. A little bit of overkill, but you know what? The glass has already been scratched by the previous pro, and we want to make sure that our customers are confident that no more scratches are going to be embedded in the glass, and we're going to protect their investment and just beautify it. So we go ahead and start by applying remover, and remover will bubble the remaining previous coating so we can go ahead and scrape it off. And then we carefully scrape off as much of the coating as we can possibly get off. Now this is a slow and tedious process, and there's no quick way to do it because you're using a sharp tool that could potentially mark up the wood. So you've got to go slow, you've got to get in between the channel. Then we go ahead and vacuum everything up, and we take that stuff away and ship that off to the recycling facility. And then now we have some beautiful raw wood that's been sanded. I also wanted to point out, this was a kind of a strange sort of finding that we had. The hinges would not come off because they were glued for some reason, and we were not able to take the hinges off. So every time we get into these projects, there's always something. We're going ahead and applying the stain. We brush it on because we want to go ahead and work it into the wood, get it in the cracks and crevices and the molding and the corners and everything, and make sure we really get it in the grain. After it's penetrated for a while, we go ahead and buff out the excess, sort of do a hand-rubbed stain finish. Now we're applying the coating, which is a very high-end yacht grade clear coat that dries matte. We go ahead and spray it on because this is the best way to get a uniform finish. Now in between coats, we go ahead and finish sand so that the next coat will bond and adhere and we take out imperfections. Then we apply the second coat, again by spray. It's a quick process, but it's the best process. And again, we take out imperfections with a very fine piece of sandpaper. And that way the next coat will bond and adhere. And we do a third coat. So there you have it, a nice, beautifully refinished front door. And even though we used a matte finish, there's still a good amount of sheen on there because you're doing multiple coats. And once it's hung up, it's going to tone down a little bit. You're not going to see as much of the sheen. We go ahead and replace the hardware carefully and slowly. There's no fast way to do that. And it just looks amazing. You have great depth, you have great color. The guys carefully take off the protective plastic. And carefully bring in the doors for reinstallation. So here, yes, we'll go ahead and use 3 guys to install 1 door because we just want to make sure everything goes up smoothly and we don't scratch anything or hit anything, and that the doors are hung great. Okay guys, so I just wanted to do a brief recap on exactly what we did. The clients purchased this house a couple years ago. The builder or flipper or whatever you want to call it, the person that redesigned this house and did the remodel and then sold it, they bought these beautiful doors, but they hired the blow and go finishing pro, as we like to call it, to come in, and they applied some sort of weird stain or 1 coat of varnish or whatever the hell they did, and it basically blistered and peeled, and it was almost down to raw wood. It looked absolutely atrocious. So we came in, we stripped it, we sanded, and then we stained it to the color that you see. This is the exact color the client wanted. So we met with them, we talked it over, and we narrowed it down to exactly what they wanted. They're super stoked. After that, we spray coated 3 layers of a very high-end yacht grade clear coat. We sanded in between the clear coat to remove the imperfections, and then that way the next coats will bond and adhere until we form a really hard and beautiful, smooth furniture grade type outcome. The customer's totally stoked. We're totally stoked. We're totally happy at how these turned out. We can do the same thing for you. Hey, I wanted to thank you guys so much for tuning in today. If you guys like what you see, go ahead and click that like button. Go ahead and check out teakmaster.com. It's an amazing website. It has tons of before and afters, tons of content, and it's chock full of information. If you guys have any of your own processes that you think that are better than ours or different from ours, or any information that you think is relevant to these videos, go ahead and leave them in the comment section. We'll go ahead and reply to them. And furthermore, go ahead and follow us, because we're going to be coming out with videos exactly like this. We're going to fill that void in the exterior wood refinishing realm and get these videos out to you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tim Gilliam with Teak Master signing out.